Assalamu alaikum. Today we're having a nice 30 minutes session together. What it is, let me start from here. Let's see. I heard Jordan, Mr. Jordan Peterson, dialogue with Muhammad Hijab, and I liked it. But I wished Jordan was given more of his rights. What I mean by more of his rights is kind of like uh, like say in boxing, for example, if you get an Olympic guy, just got the golden, award, you cannot compare him with professional like Muhammad Ali and Tyson, right? So if Jordan want to watch a nice, match, we should give him Muhammad Ali or give him Tyson, but we don't give him the Olympic guy. So we have in Islam top-notch 500-pound gorilla, so we should not give him rabbits. So I wrote very little YouTube called I Read for Jordan Peterson his spiritual rights and give him rule number 13. I mean by number 13, you can go and see that little YouTube, that he said that Jesus is Mr. Peterson said Jesus is a great mentor. And when he put his 12 rules, he never have Jesus in it, the spirituality part. So I kind of, put that in a humble way. I use the word spiritual rights. He will understand it because he's from North America. It's a nice humor. Like, when they get you arrested, so that the police will tell you anything you say or you do, it will be taken against you in the court. So when you read he has to read your rights, tell you that. If the police doesn't tell you that, then you say a lot of things you can deny it in the court, okay? Though now they have camera, I think, video for everything, but it doesn't help. You get the guy killing a guy and the video say that, and they have a way to get him out of it. It is shame. So this is my starting point, okay, my 10 cent, like they say. Then then what I did, I decided the 5-pound gorilla are like Razi and Ghazali, Peterson should be confronted or dialoguing with these two 500-pound gorilla, not with small rabbits like me and Brother Muhammad Hijab. I don't talk about myself a lot, but I am maybe the most leading authority on the planet with the blessing of Allah in the hadith of Prophet Muhammad. And I made huge production available on Allah.com, Muhammad.com, which I served for 30 years or 40 years, over 36 years. For example, I made the first concordance of Quran and Hadith 35,000 words. I made the concordance of Quran of 12,000 words. Anna and myself, Khadija, translated the Quran and put topics on it. I collected the 9 books of Hadith, which nobody ever did before me for 1,000 years. It's 68,000 Hadith with repetition 10 times. I made them in one without repetition. I mean, Allah blessed me to produce a lot of things. In Hadith, for example, I am the first one to put Hadith roadmap, to extract the companion and his friends who were quoted, and we know about them over 9,000 of them. I am the first one to write Hadith Roadmap. I'm a consultant for Muhammad Ali Foundation to produce a book called Brain Islam, which now close to 1 million in circulation. Okay, so Alhamdulillah, I did a lot of large scale. I made encyclopedia of Hadith. I'm the first one to put all the Hadith, 700 volumes, and Excel. Nobody put Excel before me. Excel people use it for literature. I use it for Hadith. Then I build on that Hadith data warehouse. So I have a lot of large scale stuff, and there is no competition really between me and anybody in production. So this is the reason I want to draw people into the major master work, like Imam Shafi book, Al-Umm, 3,000 pages. You have to raise your hand for it. Ibn Hajar, Encyclopedia of Hadith. Okay, use the Bukhari excuse to put encyclopedia of all his knowledge. Nobody before him and after him more knowledgeable in this area like him. Imam Shafi'i, like the godfather of all Sharia knowledge. Okay, so I decided to set up these courses of the main courses because they are not in Harvard. Harvard cannot afford this. Harvard and Oxford don't have the people to understand even these. Okay, so what it is, Ghazali is one of the top 10 brains in the universe, and you have to go and find out. Okay, Razi, I mean, oh my God, the guy in theology was Ghazali. They are 500-pound gorilla and more, maybe 5,000. So this is what I'm here about. Okay, not show off or anything, but today I want to start a few minutes with this person here. This is a fantastic. Okay, I don't like the idea of purchase and to support. Islam has to be free. Okay, you want to make business, do go sprouting barley, which gives you 900% return per week. Just spraying some water on, steam water on what you call cold, not hot, water on barley. A kilo will be 9 kilo in 1 week. Used for the best horses racing. You make you filthy rich, and don't keep begging and using Islam for money. Sahaba, the companion, never sold anything. Prophet never sold anything. Bukhari never sold anything, and so forth. So you guys using Islam as a financial instrument, and you killed it. Okay, so let us hear this Dr. Jeffrey, because he's really fantastic. Okay.
Assalamu alaikum. I've come from the University of Kansas. We're playing in the Final Four this very instant. So I want to let you know that you've asked a lot of me today. No, I'm just joking. All right, very briefly, I just want to talk a little bit about what the Quran has to say about the purpose of life. I think this is an extremely important subject, especially for Muslims living in America, because we're sort of a minority, a new religion here, and many people are interested in what we believe. And I think the primary question that people want answered when they first consider another religion is how that religion views the purpose of life, the purpose of our existence here. And so I'm going to begin, though, talking about an atheist point of view, because I want to talk about what sort of answers the Quran might have for an atheist. So to begin this, I need to talk for about 5 or 10 minutes about what I believe contributed to my becoming an atheist, because I grew up in a Christian family. And then I'll talk for about 45 minutes or so about what I experienced in the Quran and how that sort of changed my perception. Why create man, this utterly fallible creature? This creature who could rebel against God's will, who could do such tremendous wrongdoing, who could wreak havoc like no other creature on earth, when you can make them angels. And look where the question is being asked. It's being asked in heaven. It's almost like saying, look, why don't you just make them angels and be up here in heaven with us, you know? Why don't you just make them angels, pop him into heaven, he's fine. Why would you put him on earth where he can feel distant from you, where he can work out his worst criminal tendencies, act them out, feeling somehow independent and apart from you and free to do whatever he wants, when you could just make them angels and put him into heaven and make them perfectly submissive to your will? I looked at that question and said, that's my question. I'm not even a single verse into the story of mankind, and there before me I see my question. That whole question, everything that I ever thought, everything that I ever experienced, everything that I ever knew was in that question. It was as if the author took my life and wanted to pick out exactly the right question to humiliate me, to provoke me, to anger me. Why create man, this most destructive and violent creature, when you can make them angels? And then look at the answer. And he said, God said, truly I know what you do not know. You know, in modern parlance, we would say, I know exactly what I'm doing. I read that and said, what? You know what you do not know? You know exactly what you're doing? Well, please inform me. Tell me what you're doing. Because, you know, I'm 28 years old and I haven't figured out it yet. And I have a lot of issues that I'm still dealing with that's connected to this question. You can't just get off that easy. You can't just tell me you know exactly what you're doing. Not after what I've been through. Not after you made me this way. And then I realized, of course, I was arguing with a God I didn't even believe in. And that would happen several times as I read through the Quran. And sometimes I would just get into so agitated by what I read, I'd start arguing with this voice that I'm reading before me, that's calling to me. So we turn to the next verse. Well, it turns out that the Quran just doesn't dismiss the question. It starts to answer it a little bit. And in the next verse it says, and he taught Adam, God taught Adam, the names of all things.
Okay, I just give you, this is like almost 10 minutes or so from this wonderful brother who embraced Islam. He was atheistic, and also he's a professor of mathematics, so he knows how to he knows his number, how to calculate things. So this is something I wanted to start you with. The other thing I wanted to do, really, I like you to hear Quran by Minshawi, not by Ahmad Hijab, not by me, though I wrote a book about recitation rules of Quran when I was like 16, 17 years old. And I taught Quran reach in mosque and in London and New Mexico. I made kids recite like Abdul Basit, Angular little kids. I know the tricks. I know how to help you to be like this. But I want you to hear a few minutes from Abdul Basit. Al-Manshawi. Okay, here you go. This is about Moses. Allah sent after the other prophets Moses to Pharaoh and his assembly, so they turned with the verses into harmdoer.
فانظر كيف كان عاقبة المفسدين.
So see now the end of the harmdoers.
وقال موسى يا فرعون إني رسول من رب العالمين.
Moses said to Pharaoh, I am the messenger from the Lord of the all worlds of the universe.
حقيق على أن لا أقول على الله إلا الحق.
Indeed, O obligated on me to say only the truth about Allah, only the truth.
قد جئتكم ببينة من ربكم فأرسل معي بني.
I came to you with a proof from your Lord. So this is a beautiful reciter. The other guys, Minshawi Abdul Basit, this is Minshawi. They are fantastic reciter. Okay, so I want also to do that. Then this guy is really fantastic. Okay.
Islam fixes a lot of the problems that men are currently facing. The problems we're discussing on this show, Islam fixes all of them, right? That's the first thing about Islam. And I'm not a Muslim, right? If I had to choose a religion, I would, because I live in an Orthodox Christian country, I go to the Orthodox Christian church. I donate $20,000 a month to the church in the country I live in. The church in Romania is very powerful, and I like having church friends. So I give them a lot of money, right? So I would guess I'm an Orthodox Christian. But if I had to bet on one religion as if I were betting on the stock market for the future, you have to bet on Islam. Because Muslims are intolerant. And I'm not saying that disrespectfully, because if you're tolerant of everything, then you stand for nothing.
Facts.
Christians are so tolerant now, you don't believe it. They have gay pastors that I'm not even anti-gay, but if the book says don't have, like, what do you believe in now? If you're tolerant of everything, you stand for nothing. I can walk through London with a t-shirt saying Jesus is gay and nothing will happen to me. If I did the same thing with the Islamic prophet, I'd be dead before I got to the end of the street.
Boom.
That's how much they believe and respect. And I respect people who stick up for what they believe in. It's not even about me believing in it. I respect them because they believe and they will defend. Muslims are the only people who will defend their religion. They will defend their beliefs. They refuse to be mocked. They refuse to be insulted. And I respect that about them. I respect that. That's an amazing thing about them, right? And the third point is, and I've been all...
Peaceful, 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 peace.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, assalamu alaikum, which means peace be unto you. Welcome to another episode of The Deen Show. You want to know about Islam? You've come to the right place. You want to know about Muslims? You've come to the source. Our next guest is the author of some very unique books. We're going to be talking to him. We're going to be talking about how he came to Islam. Sit tight. You don't want to go nowhere with our next guest coming up, Dr. Brown. We'll be right back on The Deen Show.
Salam, 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 peaceful, peaceful, peaceful.
Assalamualaikum sahabat beriman. Selamat datang kembali di channel YouTube Kardus.
I have been asked, one of the questions I've been asked is, what happened to me after I became Muslim? Did I encounter any difficulties? Well, I think it's very difficult for anybody to make such a radical change in their life.
Allahu Akbar, and have no problem saying this. Allahu Akbar, I can say this all I want. My dear brothers and sisters, I was asked the question whether Allah is the same God as the God of the Old Testament. And I would like to elaborate on that. The answer to that question is yes. The Muslim concept.
Do you have a bodyguard? Do you have... You don't?
I got one bodyguard. He has no eyes, though he sees.
He has no ears, though he hears. He remembers everything with the aid of mind and memory. When he wishes to create a thing, he just orders it to be and it comes into existence. But this order is not conveyed in words, which takes a tongue to formulate, or which sound carries ears. He hears the secrets of those under quiet thoughts. He stops those who's that? That's God, Allah. He's my bodyguard. He's your bodyguard. He's the supreme.
Do you have a
I remember the first time I took an imam deer hunting in East Texas. That's right, you heard it right. I took an imam deer hunting in East Texas. He had visited my church because we were having a special event. He heard me talking to one of my leaders, how that I was going to go deer hunting with him, and he said, "Bob, I've never been deer hunting. Would you be willing to take me?" And I looked at him and I thought for a minute. I said, "Zia, I would, but if you go dressed like that, running through the woods with a 12 gauge in your hands yelling Allah Akbar, we're all going to die. If you're willing to put on a t-shirt, slick your hair back, speak with a Mexican accent, I'll take you." So I took him and we had a blast. My life has been changed radically by all the friendships that I have with Muslims and Imams and Jews and Buddhists and other people. But it happened because I learned to be friends with them. I'm Bob Roberts, pastor of Northwood Church, right outside Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, speaking for the Emir Stein Center, answering the question, why do evangelicals dislike Muslims? Now that may sound like a negative thing, but I'm sorry to say it's true. As a matter of fact, our own research says that 57% of evangelicals have a negative view of Muslims. The only group who has a worse view? Evangelical pastors. Now what does that mean? It means evangelical pastors from pulpits and how they come across are the primary people who are spreading among evangelicals negativity. It has to stop. Why is it we evangelicals struggle with Muslims? Let me give you 3 reasons. Here's the first one. We don't know any. We simply don't know any Muslims. We do a thing at our church every single year where hundreds of Muslims come and Christians, and we have a table where you can sign up at the end of the service and at the end of the eating time and go to a Muslim's home, or they can come to a Christian's home, and we get to know one another. And it's amazing what they wind up telling me. The Christians, after they've been to the Muslims' homes and they've been with them, they say, "You know, Bob, we never realized that they're just like us. They're not extremists. The views that we had, the crazy things about Sharia and all Muslims are like Al-Qaeda and ISIS, it's just not true. They're as afraid of them as we are. And Bob, did you know more Muslims are persecuted by the extremists than any other group?" And I sometimes grin from ear to ear because what's happened now, they're learning about who Muslims are not from a 30-second soundbite on the news, but from a personal relationship they have with someone. Here's the second reason Christians struggle with Muslims is sometimes we have crazy eschatology, or what we believe about the end times and how Jesus comes back. We Christians have 1,000 different views about how he's coming back. And here's the reality. We actually don't know exactly how it's going to happen. Even people who agree with one another will argue aggressively about how it's going to happen. Here's the only thing we know for sure. Jesus is coming back to set things in order, to bring peace, and to put the world at ease. That's all we know. But some of us have these crazy ideas that the scriptures don't necessarily teach, like the Jews have to go back and the temple has to be rebuilt. And so bad speculative theology, things that we don't even know, cause us to look at one group of people and we've got to watch out for them, but we've got to be against these other people. There are 1.7 billion Muslims in the world. I don't want speculative theology, things I don't know for sure, to get in the way of me having a relationship with them and being able to live the life of Jesus and share the good news of Jesus because I look at just one group of people. Do we love the Jews? Sure, we love the Jews. But we equally love the Muslims and the Arabs and the Palestinians and everyone else. Crazy theology makes us do crazy things. Here's the third reason. I would say that Christians don't like Muslims. And this is going to be tough, but it's true. It's because we've rejected the gospel of Jesus. Bob, what do you mean we've rejected the gospel of Jesus? We're Christians. We believe in the authority of the scriptures and what Jesus did. That may be true. But the reality is, when we don't do what Jesus says, we've rejected the gospel. And what is the essence of the kingdom of God? It's love. So what does Jesus say? Love God, love one another, Love your neighbor, love your family. Jesus even says, love your enemies. In other words, no one's left out. We should never dislike someone. We should never hate anyone. We've been commanded by Jesus to do only one thing, love. Jesus said this, greater love has no man than this, than to lay down his life for his friends. I remember one time going to Afghanistan to visit a friend of mine, and that friend's dad was killed by some people in the country.
Okay, so now we are going to go. This was introduction about 25 minutes. I'm going to put 10 minutes in this talk, and which it is starting the 500-pound gorilla Imam Shafi manuscript. We read it together. I will read it in English on the fly to excuse me not to be maybe fluent. So starting with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Yarwi, I, Ahmad ibn Darwish, report this book because we have something called Ilm al-Riwaya, which I will make a recording in it. It is fantastic science, which consists of 70,000 people in 300 years, chaining one to the other, different chains, protecting the Quran and Hadith and Islamic literature, which never happened to any prophet before. Remember, they are protecting 6,236 verses and protecting 7,500 hadiths. That's all. So the hadith repeated between them 68,000 times. Lady Aisha, for example, she spoke about 2,000 hadith, but they are repeated 14,006 in 285 with 385 persons. Each wrote a book. So it is a fantastic way to protect things where you can cross-reference and you are sure of it. So my chain is of this book, which is Imam Abi Abdullah Muhammad ibn Idris al-Shafi'i, which he was born 120 Hijri, means after the Prophet migration 150 years, and he passed 204. So he's considered the 2nd century man, and he was number 1 in that century in terms of knowledge. And he was Mujaddid, means a revival of the knowledge of Islam. My chain is up to Hafiz Abdullah ibn Siddiq al-Ghumari, 8 years a scholar in Azhar, Morocco Muhaddis in North Africa, and also one of his disciples, Sheikh Hafiz Abdullah Talidi. I have also chain and recording from him available, seen by kind of 16,000 people. There is hadith reported that the Prophet ﷺ said, referring to Shafi'i, Alim Quraysh, the scholar of Quraysh, the knowledgeable of Quraysh, who will fill the land with knowledge. And in another narration, the blades of the land. A lot of people talking about these different chains. In the next session, I will go through it because I'm going to stop here to keep it 30 minutes roughly. When hadith is not very authentic, but is not a false, is not accusation or lie, sometimes times will prove it is true, and this is one of them. By Haqi and Ibn Hajar, this is the top knowledgeable people in hadith. They said this have different chains. When we join them together, it gives strength to the statement, and that this hadith has a root, not a false, as other people made a mistake. And we'll go through the life cycle of it to teach you sense in the next session of the hadith riwayah, transmitting or transportation of hadith in an academic way is not in Harvard or Oxford. They don't even know about it. And the Orientalists, the top Orientalists, they didn't know the ABC of the science, okay? They know little, maybe 10 pages, 100 pages, 200 pages, okay? But I have only Lady Aisha, I have 380 books, okay? So give me a break. So when the Prophet say tibaq, plates, like Africa will only one plate, like one island. When it came to Indonesia, it's 7,000 island, and all filled with the knowledge of Imam Shafi. So this is an interpretation of the hadith by the time to prove it is accurate, because this is a prophecy from the Prophet. When you come to a country, not by sword, just by the convincing, people accepted Islam and became all Muslims without any war. Okay? As a matter of fact, it's reverse war. The Holland army came and killed a lot of people and took over these countries for many years, and then they got their freedom later. So this is about Imam Shafi'i, a knowledgeable. He will fill the land with knowledge. If this is the case, shouldn't we be reading his book? No, nobody's reading his book. So the Muslim in the West, really, they are sold the curriculum short, whether Harvard or Oxford or their local madrasa or school, or you name it, or accredited this and that, because they give you somebody's his opinion about the book, and it take maybe 50 pages spread and show base, and you learn nothing. Now we are going to learn from Shafi'i himself, from his own book, and we add nothing and subtract nothing. And this will make you macho man like Shafi'i, because Shafi'i wants you to be like him. This is the reason he wrote this book for you. But if you are abandoned it with your all know-how and intellectual and. So when I dedicated to this book or this course to Honorable Jordan Peterson, because he needed bad. I'm having for him some other books too. So I'm giving him the 500-pound gorilla professors of real professor of Islam. Don't tell me PhD, give me break. This guy Shafi'i is equal to all PhD made since his time, if any, up to the end of the time, because they are like babies on his logic and his understanding and his authorship. This man was Mufti, like Attorney General, okay, Supreme Court. He's everything when he was 15 years old. You got that? I repeat, 15 years old, he was an authority. And after, few years, he wrote this book for you to learn. He wrote down. He wrote another book. One man asked him, can you give me the principle of fiqh, Quran and Hadith, how I understand that? He told him, he wrote him a book called Risala. When the man see him, who's top alim, big time alim, Abdul Rahman ibn Mahdi, he said, oh my God, I didn't believe that Allah creates a guy like this. I'm so astonished by reading. Okay, so this is what will be going the riwayah next 30 minutes. But let me tell you one thing before we leave, we conclude with it. Ahmad ibn Hanbal, this is called the Imam of Dunya and Hadith, okay? This man collected 11 camels of Hadith, not for money. His father left for him inheritance of 2-3 stores. He rented them, he eat from them. He take no money from anybody. And you cannot come and teach you alone. You have to bring another one witness. They have a system over why I will teach you. So this man, he said Imam Shafi'i was like sun for this life and like good health for people. This is his opinion about him. Okay? And he said, I never knew the hadith. This guy collected already 28,000 hadith and he doesn't understand it like Shafi'i. He said, I didn't know the superseded hadith from the other till I sat with Shafi'i and he taught me. So he is indeed like sun for this life and the good health for the body. Can you substitute, replace him? Okay. I look at about Peterson is like Umar ibn Khattab, where the Prophet said, 2 people, he wish one of them become a Muslim and support Islam, because Islam need a guy of his caliber to tell American about it. Because really nobody, maybe Malcolm X started little, but there is some kind of like racist build in and so forth. But we don't have a single one we can give him the gold award to tell America. Has to be one from them. You cannot get me an Arab or Pakistani or Muhammad Hijab or Ahmad Darwish or able to tell America. It's not going to work. You need a guy from them. Okay? So I will come, Honorable Jordan Peterson, and I'm dedicating this book for him and the other books of the macho 500-pound gorilla. And I warn him, stay away from the rabbits. Okay? They will get you crazy running everywhere to try to catch it. And you know the rabbits are very smelly. Okay? And they are very good in sex. All right? You take care. Thank you much, everybody. And please, everybody, forgive me of my hardcore humor. Okay? Take care. Assalamu alaikum.